Welcome to our weekly podcast, Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We are designed for entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. We also care very heavily around the real estate industry as a whole, bringing you hot topics and up-to-date content with a lot of amazing special guest speakers along the way. So sit back, buckle your seatbelt, and get ready for the best hour of your day.
Good morning, good afternoon. Here we grow again. Excited Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We are episode 31. We are climbing the charts. It's exciting. Always with the most is my boy Ross in the third. What's up, Ross?
What's happening, baby?
All the way over in Michigan. Detroit. I keep getting them. It's Michigan area, obviously. What area again is that?
Hey, Metropolitan Detroit. I mean, you're close enough, man. Yeah,
Okay.
Close enough.
All right. We're holding it down. About 8 Mile. We're good. I love it, but always throwing it out. We're excited for all the guests that are regularly here listening to our podcast. Anybody new out there, we're always excited to have you guys. Hope this is value. Today we got a great guest, a good friend of ours. I love calling him Dougie Fresh, but we'll call him Doug Leugers from Florida, Fort Myers area. He has joined DXP with us back in, I think, was it 4 years ago, Doug? Now, what is it? 4 years, 5 years? Where are we at here with you?
Yeah, wrong guy to ask on that. That's
Probably.
About 4 years ago or something like that.
18-ish, maybe 2019. Yeah, you guys came in here. So we're super excited. Doug and Lona own their own boutique brokerage out there and joined forces with EXP, which we're excited to have you. And you're an amazing addition to that. And, grateful to have you here, too, because we know like literally almost, how long is it since that hurricane came through, guys? Has it been 8-9 months?
We just passed the 1 year mark, September 28th. Yeah.
Wow. It felt like it was just yesterday, right? But it wasn't. So a year ago, you guys were that whole entire side of your island, or island. You're on an island. I'm on an island. The whole entire side of the coastline got abolished. I mean, literally. So essentially, I was out there. We did an event with Doug and Lona, and I remember walking a lot of that strip right there in Fort Myers, and I was like, wow. And I saw pictures afterwards, and it was just looked like an atom bomb went off. It was completely obliterated. It was insane. So we're super grateful and glad you guys are good, Doug, and your house was good and you guys survived that. You guys are still here, so God bless. But anyways, today, a couple things. We're just going to talk about some stuff in the markets, the shift, obviously things that are going on. And I really don't want to talk about interest rates. I don't know about you guys. I'm tired of hearing about interest rates. They are what they are, right?
Same.
They've been in this industry long enough. It's not about interest rates. Stop using that as an excuse. That's not the problem. The problem is you. We'll go there. But in all reality, I think just more of a conversation around the internal forces of how this industry is going with brokerages. Let's go there, right? As we all know, we're part of EXP Realty. I'm super grateful, and I'll shout that from a mountaintop. 2009, Glenn Sanford created an amazing model, obviously, designed, and it was totally revolutionizing. If you guys can agree, it changed the way the real estate industry was ran. I mean, prior to that, the only other individual was probably Gary Keller in the 90s, right? He kind of jumped out and changed the dynamic and totally flipped the industry upside down with his model. And I love Keller Williams. And then let's just start with this first. I'm not a shit talker with anybody. I love every brokerage. Every brokerage is amazing. In fact, my hat's off to anybody who goes out there and builds a model and takes the time, energy, and effort and money to even do so. So this is by no means a bashing contest or a conversation whatsoever about anybody's brokerages. This is just bringing stuff to the surface and kind of stating facts. I'm a facts guy. So everything's going to be factual here. It's not going to be hearsay or just bullshit. It's going to be facts. So that's my process. I just kind of want to talk a little bit because I think there's a lot of conversation right now. I'm out there having conversations with realtors on a daily basis. And I'm sure you are, Ross, and you are too, Doug. We have conversations with realtors on a regular basis. That's our job. And I think there's a lot of conversation that goes around like, what's EXP? In fact, you see it all over social media, right? Well, who's EXP? Who's Druid? Who's Epic? Who's LPT? Like all these things. And again, this was probably the same way it was back in the 90s when you had Coldwell Banker, Remax, C21, Sotheby's. And then, who's Keller Williams? All these models were ideally, I don't want to say copycats, but duplicates, right? So anyways, this is the space we're going to have a conversation about today. And again, my guest, Doug Leugers from Florida, and always my co-host, Ross Rosson. What do you guys think about that? I mean, if we kick this thing off a little bit, what is your guys' thoughts on my conversation piece for today?
Yeah, well, go ahead, Doug. You got something?
No,
you
you
can jump.
go for it. Go ahead.
You know, honestly, man, first off, I think that it's really important for the listener to know that, change in any market, in any, arena, whether it's real estate, whether it's car sales, whatever it is, it's always uncomfortable for what's new to come. I mean, when AI first came out, everyone was like losing their bridges, like, oh my God, is the computer going to sell houses now? Am I out of a job? Right. When Zillow, approached, their ad spend and all this other stuff. I mean, realtors just naturally hated Zillow, and there's all these, different things. So I feel that when new things come out, even though it might be better for the industry, it's just uncomfortable and it's new and it's unfamiliar. It's the Netflix and Blockbuster, right? So, but there with change, right, as we see at EXP, there's a lot of components that are benefits. However, and I think what Chris, you're really ultimately saying is that, and I think I want to open this up more too, like you're getting at, is that although there are things that appear to be good or maybe more beneficial than one product, it's important to go to the nuts and bolts of what the consumer's getting, the agent's getting in these brokerages, and if it makes sense for them, right?
Gotcha. What about you, Doug?
I think every agent, for lack of a better term, I like to be real. So I think every ass has a seat, right? Mm-hmm. And I think every model has a type of agent that fits it. Or there's a model for every agent out there, and I personally, I like to see all the competition. That means that life's good, right? That there's business to be had out there and things like that. So it doesn't bother me whatsoever, but I do think that agents need to go in with open eyes and be knowledgeable about the models and what they're getting into when they're making those business decisions, for sure.
Agreed. I agree. I think everything's about timing in life. I think, like I say to everybody, what works for you, works for you. What you consider value is valuable, then it's value, right? And there's nobody to tell you any different. And whatever that feature may be, maybe it's a laundry list of free items, right? That's of value to you, and that's totally okay. Maybe it's structure, maybe it's community, maybe it's culture, maybe it's systems, maybe it's coaching, maybe it's training. I mean, there's a variety of things that at any given moment in life, if it's value to you right now, you're going to take advantage of it, period. And nothing else is going to make sense to you. And that's fine. And in no way, shape, or form is anybody's opinion supposed to change that. So I would strongly agree to say that there's enough for everybody. And I can agree with you there. I think competition is super healthy. In fact, I think Glenn spoke that in an interview I did with him a few months back about he was actually excited to start seeing a lot of different variations of platforms that are coming out to try to duplicate or replicate EXP's model. I don't know how to use that word usually, but because he loves the competition. He says for a long time, we're out here all alone doing our thing and nobody was around us. So it's kind of like, it's lonely at the top, but now it's great to have some people that are up there kind of catching up in the speed and to be able to be creating a healthy competition. That's what makes the world go round, right? Would you guys agree?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree, Chris. And I think too, like, because there are more companies coming out and there is a level of competition, it's only going to help everything grow in a manner of which what the agent deserves, right? Like, there's a lot of, other brokerages that have quote unquote, a rev share model, or they give back for production, right? And I think that naturally, well, every agent should have access to something like that, right? We should get to the future of, hey, people should have ownership and, what you do for a company matters. And the fact that we're now seeing that come around only creates a healthier environment, in my opinion,
100%. That whole, the way I interpret what you're saying, Ross, is that whole agent ownership thing is an exciting thing, right? The agents should own and be able to retire someday, and a rising tide raises all ships, right? So as these other companies come in, it normalizes that whole idea that agents should be owners and should think about retirement in the future more so than a traditional brokerage.
For
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
If we consider all the models in real estate tradition that has been here way before a cloud-based model, right? Which is a traditional brick and mortar, which has ran for decades and generations. That model worked extremely well because that was all that was available at that point in time. But now we have a method that allows you to literally utilize the same platform, but with better leverage and more scalability that you could ever potentially have. And anybody who's an entrepreneur 101, anybody that believes in business will see that it's the easier, the more leverage, the more scalable way you can run a business, the more profitable, more efficient way is how you run business. You can find better ways to do it, you do it. And that's what this cloud-based model was designed. But I'm going to tap a little bit on the ownership piece, Ross. I believe it too. I mean, if we really want to talk about the number one thing that as realtors, our advice to every one of our clients is that home ownership matters, right? Why is ownership better than renting? Why is it better to own than to rent? We have that argument with our clients every day. It is ongoing. If you're not, then bad on you, which is probably why you probably suck at real estate. But yes, number one, home ownership does matter because why? Owning something has way more equity value than just renting and paying someone else's bills. Think about that, everybody, when we're actually saying that. Home ownership matters. Owning something is way more equitable than paying someone else's bills. And essentially, if you think about it, in a regular traditional model, you're really paying for that broker's bills. His overhead, his cost, his liability, his leases, his copiers, his printers, his profitability. You're paying for him. And you are getting zero out of that. You literally are paying zero. So what's that we say now? Oh, your rent or interest rates are high right now, but you're paying 100% of someone else's interest right now as a renter, right? Well, what do you think you're doing as a realtor? Let's consider that factor real quick when we're spouting out these little percentages and these memes. Where are you at in your business when you are literally working for someone else and paying a large percentage just to be in-house and having nothing that really benefits you? These days, an office doesn't benefit you. We all realize that, right? You guys agree? I mean, what do you guys think about the space for actual office space?
Go ahead, Doug. Yeah.
I think it has, to most agents, even though, the agents I talk to say they want office space, they will admit in a conversation that they never go into the office. It's just a matter of security to them. It's a feeling of security, but once they get used to the thought of working from home, that the whole brick and mortar, it loses its value, for sure.
For sure. Well, and ultimately, as an agent, our job is to be on the road, showing property, getting houses under contract, meeting with clients. It's not that we need to go to our brokerage to print out a ton of documents and get our, folder and binder and bring it over to our client and do everything, right? I mean, we can pull over the side of the road if we had to, get a hotspot and do everything transactionally on our laptop, right? So the whole idea that we need a, anchor location for us to check in and do our work is really not needed anymore. But it takes time though, right? Like it takes time to really accept that. And, even though that everything's digitalized, we're still in that like, maybe I do need to go in and maybe I do need to be seen and maybe I do need to, make an effort of going in. And I think take real estate out of the equation. Look at corporate America right now. How many people since COVID are able to work from home and are not even mandated to come into the office? So if we see corporations saying, hey, we're seeing the same effectiveness, the same amount of workload, and we're actually seeing our clients do it or our staff do it in a less amount of time, they're not dummies in business. They understand that if they needed their people in office, they would be there, right?
100%. And I always look at this when I actually had my own company. I don't know about you, Doug, too, because you had your own company. But if I had realtors that were sitting at their desks on their computer, that worried me because that means they're not really producing. Back in the day, actually, when I had my mortgage company, though, and I had LOs in there, it was different because they're in front of computers doing some underwriting, doing a bunch of stuff that required them to be in a computer. And actually, a lot of the platforms we didn't have available on laptops. So you monitored them more regularly than you would be a realtor. But a realtor in the office on a regular basis, sitting on a computer, they're probably on Facebook. Let's be honest. They're probably on Twitter. They're not looking for clients. Let's be honest. We're talking about the average here, right? There's some specifics of people, the small ones, the exceptions over the rules. Yes, we'll call you out. You guys are probably doing your job. Good for you. Hands off. We want to pat your back. I'm speaking to the masses here. The masses, the averages, they're screwing around. They're complaining. They're bitching and whining why they can't close a deal. And why? It's because they're sitting their ass in the office. So truthfully, I think it's counterproductive. not counterproductive to be sitting in an office. You need to be out and about. Ross, you said it right. You need to be out making contacts, meeting people, building relationships on a regular basis. So you don't. In fact, I think the only reason why you need an office space ultimately now, if you think about it, is just for somebody to come and connect, to create some level of community, right? That's it. It's just a connection for community. And I think that's important. I'm not diminishing and saying that's not important. It's extremely important because people need that. Well, some people, again, some people don't. But again, what's value is value to you if you think it's valuable, period. And that's awesome. So the environment for having a brick and mortar, again, I think at this point, I think it's gone. It really doesn't exist any longer, especially COVID fixed that.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, just starting that off, I think the brick and mortar thing is not there. The supports you can get other places, and you don't really need that. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about.
Chris, can I actually talk about that a little bit more, though? There's something else I wanted to add before you jump into the next thing. And I think it adds value, especially when we're considering other brokerages. So it's one thing to want to be virtual. It's one thing to want to be remote, but you have to have the infrastructure for the support. And there has to be a way to receive information in a efficient amount of time. And so when I actually look around at some of the, brokerages that are not EXP, and I look at their models for, what happens for training, what happens for, accounting, tech support, all this other stuff, it appears to me a lot of it's like you got to call in or you have to send an email. Whereas I feel the companies like EXP, the ones that are ahead of the technology and actually, know what needs to be done, we have our metaverse essentially, where they have the infrastructure ready for the agent to already receive those services. So if I was an agent and I was looking at these other brokerages, I would really want to understand, well, if everything is going online, what is the infrastructure that they have to support me to be remote, right? I think that matters, right?
Yep, absolutely. I think that's one of the things I believe that if we want to talk about that, when we talk about other models right now that are comparable to EXP, that is one piece that they will never have. And that is the fact that besides that we're first to market, we'll just throw it out there too. But secondly, because we have an ecosystem in place, a complete system that supports 90,000 agents. And it's not a text or a phone call or a Zoom call. It's real life people working for us in a real office environment. Understand that, everybody. That is what's different that separates us from any other duplicate or copycat right now out there in that cloud-based environment. We truly are cloud-based. We are the metaverse. No one else has a metaverse. Nobody.
Come on.
Doug, you're going to say something. I saw it. Like you have a bubble like above your head. Ready to go.
Well, I was just agreeing with it. I think that's just an amazing point. Even though we don't have the brick and mortar, we do. It's just virtual. We just have a virtual brick and mortar. We still have all the services and everything. And that's one of my biggest problems with these unproven companies out there. Even though I like seeing the competition and things, the other companies are just unproven at this point, right? And they got a ways to go, and they don't offer those services yet.
Yeah.
No, which is why what happens when you don't have value here, right? Because everything we both all agree, right? Everything is based off value. People go where there's value.
Yeah.
So if your value proposition is not able to reach the same level of what your competition is, then you have to start bringing in the other sub variables of value, right? If I don't have this, I got to give this. If I don't do that, I got to do that. Because where else am I going to create value? You either have it or you got to create it.
Correct.
And if you're creating it, then that's the other shit we're talking about, right? Let's open up door number 2. We open up the trunk and there's all kinds of cool free shit. All right, awesome. And again, that's value to value who's someone who sees valuable, right? If I think I'm going to get a free set of steak knives with my freaking thing, then I think that's valuable. Then I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
But that's valuable to you and not to anybody else. So yes, my strong point to that is if you don't have enough value to support what you're doing, you have to create value. And that value is really sometimes very unfoundational. Like that in a word, it doesn't have a foundational basis. There's no real foundation to it. What do you say, Doug?
I think you said the magic words earlier when you said scalability. You said scalability earlier, and then I just heard the word value.
Yeah.
I don't think you can scale free.
No, you can't.
All the professors that I've listened to, the authors, like the Dan Kennedys and people of the world have talked about free stuff and value, and how much value does something have if it's free, right? And then that second piece of that is, if something's free, who does it attract? I want you to think about this from a business perspective, or anybody watching, think of this from a business perspective. You're growing a company, and it's a real estate company, and you're adding agents after agent. First off, let's back up a step. Let me pose a question to you guys. How many agents actually produce?
20% of the
Yeah, 80-20 rule for sure.
80-20, and then in my market, it's 90-10.
90-10. Yeah, I would say 90-10 now. I think it's accelerated 90-10.
Wow.
Right. So if you only have 10% of agents out there that are doing most of the production, and you're a company and you're growing, so most of the agents that you have, most companies out there, let's just use the 80-20 rule. 80% of agents aren't going to be producing, but those 80% get all the free services. They get the free billboards. They get the free guys go out, put the signs out. They get all this stuff for free. But who's paying for that stuff?
Yeah, the 10%.
Right? And companies don't exist to provide free stuff. Companies exist why? To make profit, right? To make money. And if a company can't make money, it can't exist. It's that simple. And so what happens is, you're adding all these agents who don't do production over time, and they're getting all this free shit, right? Now, and maybe it's not shit. It's actually some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, when I looked at a list of, one company in particular that I was just studying, and they have a long list of free stuff, and I thought it was pretty impressive at first, but then I started thinking about it, and I started being more logical, and I was like, what is the longevity of this company?
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm back. Go ahead, Doug.
No, go ahead.
Back to the quality too, right? The value and the quality, and knowing that 80% versus the 20%. I think there's so much to that. If I'm promoting a brokerage that I believe is giving all this free stuff away, and come over here and it's sunshine and rainbows, right? We're making your job easier. To your attraction point, if I'm attracting free, well, even if they have the best, model for people that I recruit are under me or become my business partners and everything else, what's the retention of that? And what am I actually building for my future? Let alone, what is it saying about me representing this model, knowing that maybe it's not really going to work all out that well? Hey, granted, I hope it does. But I just don't see the value. And especially for me, this one brokerage in particular that I'm going to remain nameless, but I looked at the numbers, and they're advertising, free car washes and free photos and free sign installs. And then I'm looking at the, breakdown, and I'm like, wait, but you're charging me X% on every transaction. So it's actually not free. You're just making it appear free. And, actually, if I just do it all on my own, and learn how to become a business owner, a business operator, and create the systems, right? Which ultimately are already going to have to be learned if I want to build a big rev share, right? I'm going to have to be a good support system for the people that come with me to know that. Then why wouldn't I just do it myself and save the money instead of going to a model and paying someone else to do it for me and have it cost more? It doesn't make sense.
100%.
I think it's about building yourself and building your business too. Again, like anything else, right? I'd rather teach you how to fish than to give you fish. And that goes the same way when you run your business. Like, I need to teach you how to run your business. You should learn how to run your business, period. Even if you had to go do it for a short period of time, you need to learn how to run your business. And then at some point, yes, you could leverage it to find your way out of it so that it systematically runs on its own. But you should, as a business owner, know how to run your business from A to Z.
Correct.
If you don't, you're going to lose sight of that. And it's going to fall. It's going to implode. That's my point, is that these things, like you said, yes, a lot of people are like, well, I want to go. There's a lot of other brokers that offer concierge type environments, right? Well, we do everything for you. We'll do your marketing. We'll do your this. We'll do all your stuff, right? And again, yes, is that easier? Absolutely, it's easier. But where in life ever has it worked for you in the history of the world where things that were easier turned out easier later, right? Easier now, hard later. Hard now, easier later. That's exactly how it works in life. So whatever short path or of least resistance you want to take right now, It's not going to work. It's a shortcut. Shortcuts don't work.
Mhm.
Shortcuts have never worked, ever. So that's a myth that you have in your head, that if you're going to find an easy way out right now, it's not going to work. And we see it all the time, because here's the method. All these kids, millennials, that are doing these things like YouTubes, they're influencers, right? These kids are like 13, 14, 15 years old, making millions of dollars, and did zero effort other than to get on a stupid phone and videotape a raccoon beating up a donkey. I don't know. Something just ridiculous. That are like, oh my God, that's funny. Let's watch it. And then I'm going to start following you. But it required like zero skills.
Yeah.
Zero skills, and having hard sweat, energy, time, effort to build something from scratch. Whereas we come from the era that you didn't have a shortcut.
Mhm.
You wanted to be successful. You worked your ass off for it, and then you worked your ass off some more.
Mhm.
So again, we're going to go back to the value proposition of things that are free. There's nothing free in this world. Welcome to America. If you don't know it yet, it's here. But again, free's free if you think it's free, but someone's getting paid somewhere, and it's not gonna. You're gonna get it in the front, or you're gonna get it in the back. Let's just put it that way. They're gonna get it from you one way or another, whether in front of your face or behind your back. You might know about it, or you might not know about it, but one way you're gonna get it somehow. So let's just leave it where it's at. And value, again, is value to those that seem as valuable. So other methods that we look at. Any more thoughts on those two guys on anything we're talking about? Anything like?
Yeah. I do want to chime in one more thing too, to your running a business, because I think it is so valuable when we look at services that are the done for you method. Chris, you made a really great point. It is so important for us to have the sweat equity in our business and know how it runs. And I think for this one reason only, anything can happen. So let's say this model seems great and everything's going awesome, and then out of the sky, you have to transition to go to something else. If your business is supposed to be exceedingly growing and you're at the top of the pinnacle, you're doing 100 to plus transactions, maybe even 50 transactions, and now you have to pivot and relearn everything while trying to take ground, my friend, you're not even going to know where the pain points are. You're not even going to know the timeline of the structure of your business, and you are going to be lost in the sauce. To whereas what Chris, you're saying is once you understand the components, you're kind of in a position to where if you had to make a turn or pivot or navigate, you know how the ship operates. You understand what needs to go down to get through those seas, to get through those storms or whatever. And I think that that's so valuable for the business owner more than anything. And I don't know any real estate mega team lead or mega agent that hasn't walked their business from start to finish and knows what each department needs to be successful, or has somebody in charge to do it. Right? It just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
I mean,
go ahead.
Even I heard this podcast the other day, and this president of the company, he said that before he became the president of the company, they made him go through 5 years of going through the operations before getting into that position. So that way he understood the whole structure. Why do we think as agents, it's any different? We can't just go in and press a button and say, all right, take care of it all for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No. You gotta put
it doesn't. And we need the business to be successful. In order for me to be successful, I need my brokerage to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a difference though when you start to have, let's go back to the ownership part of your business. It's also proven that people will show up, behave, act, engage completely different when they have some skin in the game or money to be earned from something that is designed where the whole entire office operates. Period. That is proven. I mean, we could run that test run on anybody. If we walked in the office or out on the floor, actually in any business structure, right? It doesn't have to be real estate. It can be corporate America. It could be a warehouse. It could be an assembly line. You walk out there and tell everybody, hey, from now on, everybody gets bonuses on this massive amounts that we do produce. Everybody gets a bonus percentage of that. So let's get to work. Dude, those people are going to show up, work on Saturdays. They're going to work overtime. They're just going to be different. It's a proven method. So here we go. We've created a culture where now everybody truly wants to be successful. They want success. They want it to win. They all want to win. Mm-hmm. And when everybody wants to win, the dynamic and energy of something is going to rise to the top at a faster pace, more uniform and unified than ever before. So yeah, So one thing I'm going to touch on real quick, then, just to expand a little bit more, because people out there are like, okay, I've heard about EXP, and obviously, again, we were the first to market. EXP is the first to market to literally change and revolutionize this real estate industry. Not from a perspective, I just want to reiterate, not from a perspective of an agent producing real estate business transactionally. That would be the Redfin, Zillows, and Trulias. Those guys, Open Doors, they're trying to change and eliminate the job of a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to impede on and make an impression on the way you run the brokerage, the operations, the cost factors, those percentages, the scalability leverage. That's where we're looking at differently. We're trying to change that part. And we're trying to engage and bring in the entire agent sphere, the entire arena of agents in this too. So they have a piece of that. So that's, I'll make that clear. But my point in starting that piece was a segue into, and I'm going to say it's out there. It's really, again, my opinion, it goes for whatever it's worth, 2 cents. The franchise model is dead. Would you guys agree to that? The franchise, the independent, boutique, brokerage, traditional is dead. That's my piece. I believe it is, 100%. And so when EXP came onto the scene in 2009, that's where it started to change and shift that big, huge ship and start turning it due north and running to a different destination. And so here we are. For the longest time, our ship was out in the waters all by itself, cruising along, going where it was going. And now we have side ships that are coming aboard and jumping on. And again, you have to. That is capitalism. That is America. That's what it's about. So again, I'm excited about it. I applaud it. I'm grateful. My hat's off to anybody who's innovative. I love the business owner. If you're doing it, good for you. This is not about knocking people down. This is just about being more clear about where we are in a space now where I believe the cloud-based models are what's going to continue on and take over, because you can't compete. From a financial standpoint, if we looked at both P&Ls and breakdowns from profitability, from a traditional brick and mortar to a cloud-based environment, to the franchise models to our cloud-based, you can't even compete. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
Our money, our cost of running business is extremely way cheaper than it is to run theirs, and is more scalable. So where do you guys think on that, as far as obviously separating the EXP models or just the cloud-based models from a traditional model? You guys agree on that? I mean, are we on the same page as far as that, or any thoughts on that?
I don't have any additional. Really, I think you said it well.
Yeah, all right, I love it. Right,
I love that. Yeah, hey, I could talk about this stuff for hours because just the technology and how things are changing. It's exciting, but I do agree with you, man. I think that's facts, right? Yeah. I'm not personally going to Blockbuster because they don't exist anymore to get my DVDs for date night with my wife. I actually just take my remote and I click a button and I'm on. Just as much as back in the day when realtors were dependent upon the broker giving them the information for the new MLS listings, right? We're not really, waiting on that anymore because, we have an MLS and it gets reported instantly, right? So, yeah, I do think that we have been constantly moving forward, and now this new cloud-based thing is really just definitely going to be the new standard. I agree. Yeah.
I think we're in exciting times, I mean, you think about what's happening with commission, literally the lawsuit that happened yesterday or started yesterday with the NAR and a couple companies. I don't know if Remax was involved in that, but whatever. That's a big deal, right? And that's going to change our industry and probably even more of a reason why someone should want to be with a company that's established right now. Because of some big changes happen with commission, they're predicting over 1 million agents will leave the business.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw that stat yesterday.
Wow.
I think, but that's crazy. So when you have the real estate industry facing those kind of big changes, it's exciting, and it's exciting because you can be on the forefront of it, because it's going to present some opportunities for the right people. Mm-hmm. But I think you need to be with an established company to weather the storm for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. What do you say?
I was going to say, that's such a great point. And by the way, what my next statement, I am paraphrasing. I'm making an analogy. I am not pointing this to any brokerage or any place, just so the audience knows. But okay, we've all been a realtor in our first year. And we know that the information that we know on year 1 is not the same as that we know on year 5, right? And there is a element to practicing real estate, learning real estate, functioning in real estate that matters. So when I look at brokerages and I see these new mom and pop shops that are coming up in this cloud-based arena and they only have a couple hundred agents, I'm really thinking like, okay, EXP, I don't believe is like practicing anymore on their, they got it down. They know what they offer, their value, you know, what's going to happen, how to navigate a market and to make change. I believe when I look at these mom and pop shops, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to like practice on that, like be the test subject. Not that you are. Again, I'm not saying anyone is, but that's how it feels for me to make that decision. Like, I kind of want to go to a place that has it all in really good format. So that way, 1, I don't have any headaches in my business. And 2, the product that I'm giving to the person that maybe I want to bring along, the agent that I want to share this opportunity to, isn't going to be let down on the things that we have here, and that it's sustainable, right? Because that matters.
Oh, 1,000%. Anything matters more about sustainability than anything else. I can break out something and create something tomorrow, but it could last three days. It could last 3 months. But is it sustainable? That is the kicker for me. Like, I don't give 2 craps about something that can come out tomorrow. I want to know how long is longevity. Is it sustainable? Because I'm not going to hitch my wagon to something that's only going to last a half time, right? You know, this is what it is, right? And so you got to really factor that in. Where is these models that are coming out? Where's the foundational piece that makes it sustainable? And again, as we all know in economics, 1 + 1 is 2, not 2.5. What's the other one that's famous? Oh yeah, I have to deposit before I withdraw. That's another good one, right? That we all have learned very, very easily and painfully, probably at some point of our life. When we go to our ATM and try to pull out $20, there's only 6 in there. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's just what life's about. So when you do those economics, all right, it adds up, everybody. You can't magically make money appear by giving free stuff away. You got to get everything has a monetary value. In order to sustain and run a business for longevity and sustainability, it has to have a retained value to get for whatever you're putting out. Otherwise, more putting out, not getting enough back in, we all know what happens there.
Yeah.
Something gets sacrificed. And it's usually the person in the middle, which in this scenario would be the agent. But I want to talk about, again, go back a little bit. I don't want to go too deep in it because that's a weeded subject, the NAR issue. I don't want to go too much in it because, again, it's like interest rates. It's the talk of the town right now. Obviously, yes, interesting times. Things are going to change. But when I look at that, and if we go and play this out, and it does go in the favor of that, we have some big changes that come down, that there's a lot of people talking about different options, ways that you can create ways for this buyer side to create revenue. But ultimately, at some point, there's going to be a time frame there, whether it's a short period of time until we figure it out. But there's going to be a short period of time there when the buyer side is going to be affected in some way, shape, or form, where monetarily our revenue is not going to be the same as it is right now coming into the office. I mean, I think we can agree that. Meaning that less revenue means a lot less challenges financially for a lot of these brokerages. If we want to go back to the franchise models that have these humongous overhead costs of running their business, you got to look about that too. As an independent agent, as a realtor, as a business owner, look about where am I going to go attach my wagon to something I know, again, that in a circumstance where revenue is going to drop, production may drop, but the cost of running is going to stay the same, if not inflate. Where is that going to go backwards? Where do I want to be a part of? And a model that, honestly, why, again, our cloud-based model, we're probably one of the only ones that probably has a positive cash flow, a real, true positive cash flow right now. Money in the bank. And on top of that, we are not bleeding monthly every month, getting in the negative. We're actually in the positive. So, again, it could be $50 negative, but that times 12 times 24 times 36 adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Could be substantial. So that's my point. I guess I want to throw that in there too. Like, think about where you're at as an owner of business, running your business, for your real estate business, where you want to hold your house, your ticket to. Where is it financially sound that you know that could weather? And that's what Glenn's design was, right? Glenn's design in 2009 was to, how can I create a model that can sustain any market, any condition, any situation, any scenario? Why? Because we're not a top-down model. We're not required to survive off of that by the cost of the running the business. Ours is financially way smaller. So yeah, just a thought in my head that came out like when you said that, Doug. The NAR thing's going to be issue. It's going to be interesting to see what goes on that. But I just want to add to that, like, think about what's going to be the one that's going to sustain itself through weathering the storm of whatever ends up happening. I don't think Glenn's actually, well, I don't think we're even worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Well, like Ross said, there's going to be change. There's always change, right? That's the only thing we can count on is going to be change. But the real estate industry is going to change, I think, over time. And it just goes back to both your points. You just hitch to a good wagon.
A good wagon. One that actually has some good tread on it with wheels that are supportive, that'll go a long distance.
That's right. Because you could offer me free this, free that. We'll do this, we'll do that. But who I'm doing it with and how I'm doing it matters. That is the biggest key. So like, I know there's listeners out there that are thinking, oh man, these guys are just talking about EXP or, we're talking about other brokerages. But guys, what we're trying to say too is that who you plug into, the energy, the resources, it matters. It's going to affect, how you grow your business, how you operate your business, your day to day. And ultimately, if this is our profession and, we want to do it right, well, we want to have that in play. I mean, I studied for me 3 years. I looked at EXP and I was the guy that was like, I don't know, year 1, year 2. Yeah, it looks nice, but you know what? It can't last forever. Year 3. Okay. You know what? Something's going on here and I love the energy and I'm loving what they offer. Let me check it out. Checked it out. I'm like, dude, I'm missing out on jumping out on this raft. I need to get on the raft right now. And at least, hey, and that's the other thing. People say, oh, well, it's just too late. EXP's at 90,000 agents. Guys, no, there are millions of agents in the world, right? That there's still so much opportunity. So it does matter. Those two things, I think, plugging into something that has the longevity to grow your business, and actually get ahead. And then 2, if you feel like, man, oh, well, that's just a ship that's already sailed. That's also not true. EXP is growing. Our resources are here. It's a great place to plug into.
Well, if that ship had already sailed, then there wouldn't be other companies jumping in, right?
Come on, Doug.
Right.
Right.
So
there'd be no reason to duplicate if the ship is sailed. If we had reached our plateau or the highest point that we could reach, then nobody would be trying to duplicate it.
Yep.
Or take spin-offs of it. But the truth is, I want to touch base on the sustainability too, because I know a lot of people out there, I've been here since 2016, obviously, it was like only 2,000 agents at the time. And everybody threw it in my face that, dude, this is just a fly-by-night thing. It's going to last 2 quarters and it's going to be gone, right? You won't be here next year. It's not sustainable. How can you do that? And in theory, I could see why the common person would actually look at it that way and be like, that doesn't make sense. You're paying this. You get, okay. All right. Yeah. Kind of like how we're talking about things right now, right? Breaking it down. Like, how does that really work? How do you really do that? How do you really actually offer that and still think you're sustainable? All right. The myths are gone, everybody. So if you're listening to this right now and still questioning whether you think EXP is sustainable, man, shame on you. You need to go crawl back underneath a rock because you get zero concept of business 101 economics if you still think EXP is not sustainable. We have proven ourselves time and time again, we are the most sustainable model right now in this ever crazy shark infested freaking torrential storm weathering system of real estate business. Period. That's it. That's discussion's done. Put it to rest. It's gone.
Yeah, and take the whole, all the other components out and let's just talk about the practice of real estate. I believe last year in Real Trends, we were number 1 in transaction sides. So our agents are actually doing production. We're selling houses. That is our main forte. We're here to sell real estate. We're here to do real estate. We're here to grow our real estate business, right?
We're outperforming. If you're at EXP convention you just had, we're outperforming the market. We're actually outperforming the entire market 21%. EXP as a whole is outperforming the entire market 20%. In declining market, we are outperforming it 21%. In a declining market. So if you're saying out there right now, well, all you guys want to do is go recruit people and you're not doing production. There you go. Listen to those numbers. Out of a declining market, we are outperforming the entire real estate market 21%. Okay? So there we go. And again, if you don't like those numbers, then I don't know what to tell you. Right? If that doesn't prove anything, I don't know what to tell you. You're just that guy that's stick in the mud that just wants to believe what you want to believe, and that's fine. I appreciate and respect you too. Yeah. We all have a place for you in our heart somewhere, and we respect you. But yeah. So anyways, moving on from that. But I think the sustainability piece is done. And I think that ability for us to see us continue to grow is done. I think we are slowly separating ourselves traditionally from that market of their original brokerages. And it's a matter of time. I think this whole thing that happens again with this NAR thing could change a lot of stuff for those guys too. That could be the beginning of the end for them. I don't know. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just saying, hypothetically, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. But
Mhm.
and all I know is that I want to be attached to something that is the most profitable, the most sustainable, the one that could actually weather like the higher probability and averages of weathering through something that goes down. I guess that breaks it down simple, right? And that would be the EXP model. That would be the cloud-based. Let's just call it the cloud-based model. Whether it's EXP, LPT, Epic, Real, I don't get whatever. It's a cloud-based model. The cloud-based model in itself versus the brick and mortar model, it's going to win. That's just not rocket science, people. That's 1 + 1. So I don't know. Anyway, any more thoughts on that? We got about 45 minutes. I mean, I love this conversation. I can go on it all day long because I get ranting and raving, and I just like, because there's a lot of topics I want to subject I can say about this. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys got any more thoughts on some things you want to bring up?
I don't have anything else. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I gotta say this is such a fun podcast episode. Doug, first off, I know it's our first time connecting, man, but you had a lot of great insight. Chris, man, your fire today was just I could tell, man, that caffeine is just kicking. My boys waking up. We're ready to go. But no, I think that the listener that's listening, I mean, I hope you guys understand we're just coming from a place of transparency and we're trying to give education here. And Doug, you said something before that everybody has something that will fit them and will make sense for them. And that's awesome, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be happy about where you're at, right? We could say all we want about EXP and all we want about other brokerages, but if you don't connect with it, it doesn't feel right for you or whatever, and maybe it just doesn't make sense then. Well, hey, maybe there's more understanding that, you don't know, or more education that maybe you would have to seek out to have that light bulb go off. But enjoy the journey before the light bulb goes off, because I still, to this day, wish, man, why didn't the light bulb go off in 2019? I could have been here, and that's okay. But it makes my journey that much better being here, because I've also been that person that's looked at EXP and questioned the sustainability, questioned the community. And now, having been here, now I can now use that to my experience for agents that are listening right now that are questioning and say, no, dude, I was just like you. I get it. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree upon cloud-based taking the lead and changing the industry, such as we've seen Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, and all alike. I mean, those are the services I use today. I'm not calling a taxi cab to get me to the airport, but if you still do that, right on, man.
Some cities they have to. I think they're only allowed to call a taxi cab because
okay,
we're trying to keep that business niche as long as possible.
Right. Only because the government stepped in and said, no, we're not allowing innovation here.
Yeah.
So,
well, economically, it doesn't really suit them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always about them for sure on a greedy level. Okay, I didn't say that. But yeah, how can their pockets get lined? They want to get lined first, right? If they can find a way to get lined their pockets, they're going to be all about it and pro whatever.
Yeah.
But until then, there's a big hefty piece here. There's a lot of players, I think, still like in that taxi cab type environment, tax that they in some cities, it's a generating revenue for them.
Yeah.
But you're right. Innovation. I'm using all those services as well. I don't have the traditional services anymore. I don't have the cable. I don't have a telephone, a landline telephone. I'm using all the innovation now, and we're going to continue to move that way.
Yeah.
We're definitely not going backwards. No. We're not. We're moving forwards. And like a true testament to that. Does it still work? Yes. Like I literally could go into a garage and find a VCR that probably has been there for 30 years, plug it into an old school TV, and they will probably turn on and still work. For sure. They'll work. And if I had some old VHS videotape stacked on a box collecting dust, I could pull one out, put it in there, and it would probably still play. Mm-hmm. It would show a video of some sort. I don't know what the video would look like, but the pixels would probably be horrible, but it would be usable. It would work. But is it efficient? Is it scalable? Is it leveraged? Can I take that with me and put it in my car and go watch it down the road while I'm traveling? No, you can't, right? So things do work. We're not saying it doesn't work, but where in your life are you trying to find the best possible way to scale? Again, if you're not in a place in your real estate arena, if you're not trying to figure out how to leverage and scale yourself, your business, then I'm sorry, you're just working a job. You're working a job. It's all it is, a job. And you came into this industry, in this space, because you wanted the unlimited opportunity to grow. Nobody telling you, with no ceilings, no walls, to tell you limitations. It was about growing and being the most you could. So, and that being said, why are you holding yourself down by sticking yourself to that kind of place in your mind, right? So, yeah, leverage.
I got one thing I want to add on that, because I think it's powerful. And I'm sorry, I know Chris is probably the most I've chimed in back and forth on any episode we had. But okay, I have 3 children, right? And my 3 kids, I am not taking the time to teach them, to show them what a VHS does, what a DVD does. I need my kids advanced, because their generation understands the iPad. And because their generation understands the iPad, my children need to be on the advanced learning and have access to those tools so they can navigate in that arena. If I train my children not in that environment and maybe say, yeah, we're stuck to the home phone with the cord on it, and that's how we communicate, and hey, this is how you get information, go to this old website or whatever, I'm not setting them up for their full version of success. So knowing that information, if I'm going to give my kids the best access to technology, why wouldn't I do that for myself and my business?
100%. There's no reason to teach your kids how to start a fire with rocks. Just give them a lighter. That shit works. That shit works, right? Although again, there's a piece of that I would say that's great to learn how to do things in case you lose a lighter. But the reality is, also understand that you lose a lighter.
Yeah.
So there's rocks there, lighter. It is what it is.
Love
awesome. Right. I appreciate you guys. Again, Real Talk with Ross. We love this conversation. Hope it's value those that are listening. If they knew, I hope it was value to you. Again, there's no way, shape, or form to discredit anybody out there. I employ and I applaud anybody out there that's entrepreneurial and is going to grow their business. But every week come here with some great topics. And this topic happened to be bugging me. And I wanted to have this conversation because we just had to get it off my chest. But hopefully, again, grateful to you, Doug. Grateful to you, Ross, as every week as we do. And I look forward to our show again next week, like we do every week, episode number 42. Until then, y'all have a great week. Go out and crush it and have an amazing day.